is a long journey behind a steam locomotive. It's so nice for some people, me certainly. And to other people it's perfectly horrible.
It's the smell, familiar smell of smoke and the beat of the engine and the feeling that you're being pulled not by a mechanical box on wheels, but by something pulsing and alive.
It's an aesthetic experience. It's a good railway journey by a steam train. A good journey by an electric train is a nice experience. And any journey by train, as long as you can't smell diesel exhaust too much. But a good journey by steam, it's a realized work of art.
I feel that this train in particular, 40 years after it first ran, is very important. Same engine, agreed a lighter load, but vitally important still. The railway services in this country have been cut back more and more, and to be able to show that a good old steam train can still do it, I think will make us very proud. Everybody on this train very proud.
We got 49, 11 and 3 is 14 with 14 miles.
Well, I spent 47 years on the railways.
Yes.
And it's a big change from my days to what it is today. And that's what I've come for today, because I think I'm approaching 80. And I think it'll be last time I shall see a steam engine.
Because it opens up a very wide field there, because you can now buy models of steam trains with the real smoke and even synchronisation with the wheels.
Well, that's one of the typical sort of dodgy things that you can't legislate for. Apparently a broken rail being replaced, and nothing you can do about it. We go literally down to walking pace, but quite literally the wheels did just keep turning, so we can still honestly say we haven't stopped. But it's a damn sight too near for comfort.
Railway background, and quite naturally the interest transferred itself to my son, and when he was ill with measles at the age of 3, it was most natural for me to tell him stories about trains. And he said, "Daddy, what are the engine's names?" And I invented names on the spur of the moment: Edward, Gordon, Henry, and so on. There was Edward's Day Out, Henry in the Tunnel, and then there was another story based on a story I'd read in the magazine about a Highland Railway banker being left behind. This was the story of how Gordon got stuck on the hill and had to be rescued by Edward, the engine whom he despised, banking him in the rear. But once Edward had started him off, Gordon was able to go on fast, and poor Edward ran out of steam and got left behind. And so there it was. And the first book, 3 Railway Engines, was published in 1945.
You know, we two, Audrey, we rather remind me of 2 of your engine characters talking. And, for that matter, what about Bret Hart's thing? Let's wind up with him. That was what the engines said, unreported and unread, spoken slightly through the nose with a whistle at the close. Doesn't it?
Yes.
Should be done in an American accent, though, which I didn't attempt.
There's another one over there, but I don't think I can spot it.
In about 3 years,
D104.
184.
Is it? Oh yeah.
About 3 years ago, I started collecting the numbers, simply then for something to do while I was watching the trains. But then I sort of got hooked on it, and well, when get near to completing a class, well, you want to carry on and try and complete it.
Paid up to? Yes. Right, Archie.
Well, this is the highly dodgy situation that I hoped we were not going to find ourselves in, that we are now in. We've had 2 rather poor pickups of water and only 1 good one out of 3. And it's really a question now as to whether to take the water that we have got laid on in reserve at Berwick-on-Tweed, or whether to take a calculated risk, I suppose is the term, and carry on beyond the point of no return and try and make Edinburgh. Now, this sort of decision is not mine. I'm not a professional railwayman. I'm merely an enthusiast, and obviously my inclination would be to press on and have a go. But the people who carry the can, if anything does go wrong on this, are really the Chief Motive Fire Inspector and his number 1. That's to say, Les Richards and George Harland, and they're having a conference up on the engine at the moment, and that's why I've come back into the train and said that I don't in any way influence them. We shall know within a matter of minutes now whether we're going to do any more.
Inspector Richards and myself consider that with 3,000 gallons of water we have sufficient to take us to Edinburgh.
The point where we could have got some emergency water was there at Berwick-on-Tweed, and by being switched around the little goods loop, we were right alongside a road tanker that had 4,000 gallons of water in it. I don't know how much we've got on board, but my guess would be, with the mileage we've got to do, we've probably got about 2,500 to 3,000 gallons. I don't know.
How much of that will be left when we get to
I will
Edinburgh?
go in a minute and find out, because I don't know.
You looked
What
very
would happen
cool
if we ran out of
when we
water?
nearly came to a stop outside Berwick.
Well, I
it
think
must have been a very emotional moment.
it's
for you.
absolutely fatal to do this sort of exercise as if one's going to do one's nut every time anything goes wrong, because I mean, one knows from experience, I have been lucky enough to be able to do this kind of run, not this drama, but this sort of run, many times over the last 5 years, and it's rather the
exception if things do go completely without a hitch. They do sometimes go completely without a hitch, but usually there's a difficult decision somewhere or other to be taken about something or other.
You are aware, presumably, that there are 1,800 pints of beer on board?
Well, that would be a great help, of course, a great comfort. That we might be very glad of that. I'm glad you mentioned that. And I think she'd probably run very well on light ale.
Sad about
the steam going. Yes, there was something about a steam train that it had its own each engine had its own personality, you know, and you don't see that with the diesels.
We, sir, regard railways both in the museum, the historical sense and the modern sense. And while we regret the passing of the steam engine, nevertheless we consider that British Railways by 1970 will be the best in the world. The nation that forgets its past has no future. Let's leave it at that.
Why are you here today, madam?
To let my little boy see the Flying Scotsman. He's never seen a steam train. He's mad about trains.
Does he know it's the Flying Scotsman?
Yes, oh yes.
What's the train called?
I don't know.
Well, I think from time one as a little boy right on to manhood, a train and railway has always got a fascination. And I think today to know that after 40 years, we're still able to do this journey of nearly 400 miles non-stop, I think is still part of that fascination.
Very delighted to have got here non-stop. That was the main object of the exercise, to do it without stopping, and although we had one or two very, very close scores, got down to walking speed once or twice, we did in fact achieve it without stopping at all. And I think we got here just about 30 minutes inside the old 1928 timing. Admittedly with a lighter load, but anyway, it's pretty good, I think, with an engine now 45 years old. When she did it 40 years ago, she was a youngster, and now she's not as young as she was. Done well over 2 million miles, and I think to have done that run after all those years is really quite an achievement.
So much for 4472. That was a very atmospheric occasion because everybody thought that steam was going out and was going to be dead in a very short time. But actually 4472 is still alive and well, and it's stationed up at Carnforth and in frequent use for special trains and hired by British Railways. And now for the romance of the Indian Railways, where steam again is very much alive. The motive power situation out there is that about 1/3 is steam, 1/3 diesel, and 1/3 electric.